What's up, Domino community? My name is Carson and I am a 17-year-old machine builder from Georgia. On my YouTube channel, cwdreactions, I have an ongoing series with my friend Gabe from Sir Gabe-a-lot-G called Spicing It Up. And what we do on Spicing It Up is we take already existing tricks made by other builders and we take them up a notch. Spicing It Up has taught me a lot about how to improve tricks from other builders as well as tricks of my own. With the insight I have gained, I have learned how to make my machines more complex, intricate, and more involved. Now, I want to pass that insight on to you. This is How to Spice It Up, a guide on taking your tricks to the next level. I've come up with 5 tips and tricks that I use to help me create the Spicing It Up projects, and in order to demonstrate these concepts, I have pulled examples from Spicing It Up Part 2 to show you. These tips and tricks apply to most tricks in that video and most Spice Up tricks in general. Just a warning before we start this list, some of these tips may seem kind of vague, but that's because they are meant to be vague. These tips can be applied to virtually any trick on the internet. So without further ado, let's get started. Tip number 1, look for opportunities to incorporate multi-use elements. When incorporating multi-use elements as part of your Spice Up, consider the many objects in the original trick, and then think about how they can be used in different ways. Then try and incorporate as many of those uses as you see fit. If you can use multiple multi-use elements with each other, even better. Using this tip draws attention to how creatively you can use the different objects from one trick in new ways. However, using too many uses can draw attention away from the original trick, so be careful. Here's an example. In the tape measure trick, originally adapted from Sprice Machines' Money Tree machine, I used the tape measure in 2 different ways. Like the original trick, the magnets pull the tape measure out and press a lever, but additionally, the magnets are pushed off so the tape pulls back in, flipping a different lever and continuing the chain reaction. Sometimes you can actually give objects more uses by adding to them, which brings me to my next tip. Add more features to the object of interest. Adding more features to a device or an object gives it more capabilities. I'll show you what I mean. In the tilted track trick, originally adapted from Sprice Machines' pizza delivery machine, I added this cardboard tube for the smaller marble to land on and these connect pieces to hold a pool ball that rotates the structure for a 3rd time. Object of interest typically refers to a connects device being used in the trick, but it doesn't have to. Putting a track on top of a toy car is a classic example of giving an object more features, hence more uses. Not only does the car roll along a track, but it also delivers a different track to a specific location for a ball to roll on. More features, more uses. Tip number 3, look for opportunities to move objects in different ways. Try orienting your machine elements differently, like turning things on their side or flipping them upside down. Maybe they work in new and interesting ways, or, hear me out, maybe they work in the same way. In my swinging chamber trick, originally adapted from the Antarctica machine by the Invention 11, I realized that if I flipped the chamber upside down, it would work in the same way, except it would move the ball closer to the pivot point of the chamber. That way, when the chamber was flipped around to its normal orientation, the trick works again. Tip number 4, try to incorporate an already existing trick. Sometimes 2 different tricks work so well together that they can be sort of merged. Here's an example. In the tape roll trick, originally adapted from Stick Trick Domino Dude's Turn Off the Light for the Night machine, I used 2 different tricks together. Trick number 1 was the original trick, having a falling block rotate a tape roll 90 degrees. But the board it rolls on is the setup for an auto tilt, with one weight on one side of the tilting surface. Because of this, the 2 tricks are kind of blended together. This concept of blending 2 tricks together is something that is explored in my collaboration with JackofAllSpades98 called Machine Fusion. Part 1 is already up on his channel and Part 2 is coming very soon, but in the meantime, if you haven't seen Part 1 already, please go and check it out. Last but not least, and probably the most reliable, tip number 5. When in doubt, do it twice. You can never go wrong with doing a trick twice. You will always end up with a good Spice Up when you do things twice, but generally, the more complicated it is to set up or execute a trick, the better the Spice Up turns out. That's why Spice Ups such as the double direction changer trick are more impressive in my opinion than tricks such as the double golf ball slide trick, originally adapted from Burlag Awesome Soda Machine and the Variety Guys Machine Wars respectively. The latter requires only the movement of the slide and the release of the golf balls, but the former requires a multitude of changes to occur. After the trick executes once, this block right here falls off the table, pulling this support down to lower the track on the right, releasing this green ball to raise the track on the left, pulling out this connects piece to allow the direction changer to rotate the other way, and releasing the car to move in a lever so that the trick can work. If repeating a trick twice doesn't seem enough, then maybe try repeating it 3 times or maybe even 4 times. Maybe try repeating a trick twice and adding multi-use elements along the way. Maybe try fusing 2 Connect devices together and then giving them more capabilities by adding to them and then adding even more multi-use elements. I mean, the possibilities are endless here, people. You can do anything you want with these tips. So that's it for my 5 tips. I hope you found them helpful. And one last thing to keep in mind, if you are making a point out of spicing up an original trick, make sure your audience can tell what that trick is. So my question for you is, what tip did you find to be the most helpful, or what tip am I possibly missing from my list? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I will try to reply to as many as I can. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much, cwdreactions. Those are great tips. Thank you for sharing your expertise. And let's recap one more time how to spice up your projects. Number 1, multi-use elements. Number 2, add more features. Number 3, move it differently. Number 4, use existing tricks. And number 5, do it twice. Thank you again. Leave your answer to the discussion question down below in the comments. And as always, I'm Lily /Hevish5, and keep on building.